Welcome to the MyBRADYLab tutorial. MyBRADYLab is something that the EMT courses have been using for several semesters now, and the paramedic course is going to begin incorporating. MyBRADYLab is truly a great online resource for studying and preparing for the course. I know that in the past, a lot of people have always been used to having physical workbooks, and the physical workbooks are definitely a benefit. They offered a great study aid. However, you'll find as you go through this that MyBRADYLab actually offers so much more than a workbook ever could. Essentially, MyBRADYLab is a workbook on steroids, and it caters to the different learning styles of different students. Some people who like the hands-on, some people learn better through interactive games, others who like to just practice taking quizzes. Uh, However you learn, MyBRADYLab is going to offer that as an opportunity for each and every chapter. So I want to go through and just offer a quick introduction to be sure that everybody is maximizing all of the resources that MyBRADYLab has to offer. When you first log into MyBRADYLab, it's going to look something similar to what we have here. My interface may look a little bit different just because I have the instructor access, but you should have a list of assignments that you need to complete. You should also be able to see your overall score and performance listed down here. Something that's important to understand, though, is that your grade in MyBRADYLab will be different than what your grade is in Canvas. They both have their own individual gradebook. However, your instructor has the ability to import grades from MyBRADYLab into Canvas, and only certain grades will be imported. So it's your grade in Canvas that is what you need to pay attention to. Don't worry so much about how you're performing in MyBRADYLab on its own. So beyond that, you can click on the How to Succeed in this course link, and that's going to give you some information on utilizing MyBRADYLab in addition to the stuff that I'm going to cover with you. But then you got your chapter assignments. So when you click on your chapter assignments, you got to select the volume of the textbook that you're working in, and we'll use chapter 1 as an example. And you'll see that each chapter has a series of different types of assignments. Each chapter will have reading available to you. So you can choose to read the chapter either through your textbook that you purchased, or you can choose to read it through the e-textbook that's online. And I'll show you guys how to use those in a little bit. There's an audio review for each and every chapter. Now the great thing is this is truly a good summary. You can play an audio clip that essentially gives you the cliff notes from each chapter. However, do not for a second think that you can just simply listen to the audio reviews and that's all you're going to have to do for class. That will never be enough. It is a way for you to listen to a summary of the chapter to be sure that you are able to study and retain all of the major key learning points. But that's it. You still need to go through, read the textbook, and do the rest of the work. There's a pretest and a homework, and these two things are linked together. So the pretest is exactly what it sounds like, a series of multiple choice questions that you take in an attempt to determine how well you have initially retained the information for that chapter. Once you're done with the pretest, any questions that you miss in the pretest, let's say for example you score a 32 out of 36 on a pretest, the 4 questions you missed, maybe they're related to 3 different learning outcomes that apply to that chapter. The 4 questions you missed may generate 12 homework questions that pertain to the 3 learning objectives that you did not complete. And the purpose in doing so is not to make you do additional work on the concepts that you understood already, but it's to reinforce the concepts that you didn't understand, the ones that you missed. So the great thing is, if you score 100% on the pretest, you automatically score 100% on the homework. You don't have to do any of the homework questions. If you score 32 out of 36 on the pretest, and then you get 100% on the homework questions that are generated, your overall grade for this chapter will be 100%. The pretest score is factored into the homework score. They're combined. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the homework score that's going to get imported into Canvas and will affect your class grade. You cannot make an attempt at doing the homework until you do the pretest first. It's a required prerequisite. Then you've got the post-test, and some of the chapters will also offer an additional chapter test. Those will be required if assigned. Your instructor will let you know when and if you need to do those exams and what the deadlines would be for those. So I'm going to go back here and I want to show you how to actually go through some of those and show you the interface on it. So we'll use Chapter 1 and Volume 1 as an example again. So looking here at the pretest, I'm going to go ahead and preview it. I'm going to give you a free answer or two for the first time you do this. All right, so this pretest for Chapter 1 has 10 questions. Shouldn't take you all that long. And you're going to go through here. Which level of EMS provider is certified to provide only basic emergency medical care and transportation? You can look through all the different answers. Hopefully by now you guys understand that an EMR is not licensed. It is only a certificate program and cannot actually work on a true emergency ambulance. So EMR is out, making EMT the lowest level of care to be on there. However, let's say I didn't know this information. I can always send a note to my instructor. Now, the downside about sending a note to your instructor here is that while we will get a notification that something was submitted, we actually have to sit down, log into MyBRADYLab, and respond that way. When the response comes, you have to sit down, log into MyBRADYLab, and read it. So if you ever have a question on something or a concept you don't understand, please send your instructor an email or a message directly through Canvas, and that way the response will come a lot faster. So I'll go through and I'll complete the 10 questions for Chapter 1 here. If I score 10 out of 10, congratulations, I'm done with the homework. If I don't, then I'm going to have some homework questions that are generated as a result. The homework interface is just slightly different. So the intention of the pretest is for you to go through and do it without looking anything up. Truly test your knowledge. With the homework then, if I don't know one of the answers, I can click now on question help. And if I click on the e-text pages, it will open up the e-text and it will take me directly to the page that covers the information for this particular question. And there you go. So if I were to read through this information here, that should be enough for me to answer this question. Additionally, if there are any flashcards, glossary, if there's any videos or diagrams, anything that are linked to this question, it'll display here. I can click on it and it'll take me to that resource to review. This window always stays open. So as I click on something here, it opens in a new window. This stays open and I can always come back and click on it. This is not timed. You can do anything and everything you want. You can Google things if you need to better understand it. Why is that important? Because at the end of the day, there's absolutely no reason that you should have anything less than a 100% for the homework assignment. And I can assure you, especially at the paramedic level, there will be well over 1,000 homework points associated to MyBRADYLab. Even if you're not a great exam taker, the number of points in your homework will help to offset any of the deficiencies you may have when taking your exams. This will boost your grade. And if you take this seriously and truly study, that will improve your exam grades at the end of the semester also. So that's using the different types of assignments there. Let's also look down here. We have decision-making case studies. Now, your instructor will decide whether or not to use all of these or which ones to use. Some of them are pretty comprehensive. It's a good practice tool. Some of them, as you know, in EMS, there's multiple ways to skin a cat, and I think your instructor would find that they may disagree with the treatment decisions used in these case studies. So these are more subjective, and your instructor will give you guidance on whether or not to use those. You can see the scores for individual chapters when you go to the grade book, doing a bunch of stuff like that. I want to go back here to the e-text now. So as I open up the e-text, and I choose the volume I want to go to, it'll open up, and you'll see that the display, the interface, is a little bit different than if you were to open your own textbook. I've got this glossary link over here. the table of contents where I can go in, and let's say I'm working on Chapter 5, EMS Research. These are the main topics in Chapter 5, and I can look here at the types of research, and I click on it, and there I go. The reason that it's in the format that it is it's meant to be more conducive to being used on either a phone or a tablet. And they used to have truly just a replica of your physical textbook, and they got away from that. And so now they've got this in there. And as you scroll through, there's going to be lots of different interactive links. So instead of just reading, you can also go through here. You'll see we have a bolded term. Well, guess what? That's one of the glossary terms for this chapter. You click on it, it gives you a simple definition for it. Any tables that are referenced are hyperlinked in, so I can click on this, it would take me directly to the table that it's talking about. I can go through here and interact with this table. As I continue to go down, usually there are some audio files, and obviously it depends on the chapter. Of course, I picked one that doesn't have one. But let's look at airway management and ventilation. And we'll look at physiology of the respiratory system. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff in there. Okay, so now we're starting to get some diagrams, which is great, some pictures. I can screenshot these things. I could save these to my phone or my tablet and have them to interact with later on. And of course I chose another one that doesn't have an audio file in it, but I promise some of these chapters or some of these different sections will have it in there. So I can click back once. I've got here at the beginning of each chapter all my learning objectives. So if I'm preparing for an exam and I read through these and I come across one that I didn't really understand very well, I can click on it and it's going to take me right there. So discuss the rule of threes as it pertains to optimal bag mask ventilation. What in the world are the rule of threes? I don't know. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to open up right here. Optimal BVM ventilations using the rule of threes. This might be something relevant to study in preparing for an exam. Okay, so we're going to go back now and we're going to look at the digital library. So you've got the e-text, you've got the homework and the pretest down. Now we can start looking at digital library. With the digital library, this is actually something where you can sign in and get additional access, and it's going to give you a whole bunch of additional information in utilizing all of the digital resources available to you. For the time being, I want to go back and I'll actually just show you the multimedia library, which is going to have a lot of that content. So let's again use airway and ventilation. And I want to see all of the media types that they have available for Volume 1, Chapter 15. So for Chapter 15 in Volume 1, we have flashcards, we've got audio reviews, we have audio files on difficult airways, endotracheal tube conformation, all of this stuff. These are all audio files that we can listen to. We have dynamic 3D animations on inserting airway adjuncts, applying the BVM. And again, we've got our our Volume 1, Chapter 15 flashcards and glossary terms down here. PowerPoint notes are available. If you're one of those students that likes to print off the PowerPoint in advance, have that for class during discussion and take notes on it, those are available to you right there. If you chose a different chapter, let's see here. How about cardiology? Again, a bunch of audio files, different animations that are available there, some more vocabulary. There's a video on 12 leads. Let's check this out and see what it is.
The use of a 12-lead EKG allows for early identification of developing myocardial ischemia. This enables the paramedic and medical control to make prompt and appropriate treatment as well as transport determinations. This video will demonstrate correct acquisition of a 12-lead EKG on a male patient from start to finish. Continue watching to see how preparation of the patient and lead placement change for female patients.
So this is really great because Again, some of you learn better by seeing the demonstrations in class and practicing. Simply looking at a still shot picture in a PowerPoint or in your textbook may not be enough. This is a way to reinforce different skills and retain a lot of that information. Last thing I'm going to show you then is this rhythm randomizer practice. Now, please leave this alone and don't play with it until you get into cardiac. I understand that working with some of the paramedics, they're going to teach you basic things like what a sinus rhythm is and a few other things. However, your instructor will start with the very, very basics and build upon that. And if you try to jump ahead, or if you try to just guess at what a rhythm is, you're going to find that you are wrong far more often than you're right. So save this for January when you get started on cardiac and use it then. But I will give you a quick demonstration of how this works. So I can go in here and depending on what rhythms we're practicing, or maybe at the end of cardiac, I want to be able to practice all of them. I choose what I want to work on. And let's just say I'm going to do sinus right now. So it pops this up. And rather than just saying, what is the rhythm, it's going to make me work through each and every one of these steps that your instructor is going to work on with you in class. So first of all, it's asking about my R to R interval. So my QRS complex is this big spike here. R is going to be the top. So I want to know what the interval is from each R, from the top of each R wave. Got my calipers up here. And I can actually try to figure out what the distance is between them. And once I set that, if I can ever get it set, now I can take it and I can march it out. And you see those two seem to be regular. That looks pretty regular. That looks pretty regular. So it's safe to say that the R to R is regular in this case. I'm going to submit that. It's going to tell me that I'm right. I'm going to go to rate. Now each of the strips you see is a 6-second strip. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beats in the course of 6 seconds. So to get my actual minute rate, I'm going to multiply the number of beats in the 6-second strip by 10. So the rate should be about 60. I'm going to type that in and see if I'm right. They came up with 56. So they're actually getting down and they're counting individual little tiny boxes. Your instructor will work with you and tell you what the expectation is of how accurate she actually wants you to be when it comes to this stuff. I can go to my P waves and I can evaluate P waves, make sure I've got enough P waves for each QRS, predict the likelihood of having blocks, all sorts of different stuff. This is probably going to be the greatest tool you will ever have available to you when it comes to cardiac and rhythm interpretation. So be sure that you're in here using this. Also, don't forget that as long as you got the correct package, you should have your EKG book as an option on your e-text pages also. As you can see right here, there it is, Basic Arrhythmias, 8th edition. So be sure that you log in, utilize all these things. There is no shortage of information and resources available to you if you choose to utilize it. If you choose just to do the bare minimum, that's certainly up to you. But I promise you, if you really sit down and take advantage of everything this has to offer, you will perform better, not only in the classroom, but also in the back of the ambulance. Thanks a lot for sticking around and listening. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, be sure you can get a hold of me or you can speak with your instructor.